Taoiseach, Happy New Year to you and to everyone. But as we begin this new Dáil term, we are at a moment of genuine international crisis. The world is in turmoil. Violent authoritarian regimes are increasingly threatening peaceful democracy worldwide. Russia continues to rain terror upon the people of Ukraine, while we see courageous pro-democracy protesters being massacred by the highly repressive regime in Iran. And at this time, Taoiseach, it's really sad to see this trend towards authoritarianism, towards warmongering, also happening from a country that for decades has been an ally for Europe. We've seen Trump's administration in Washington, even just in recent weeks, becoming increasingly erratic, volatile and dangerous. Over recent weeks, he's committed an outrageous and flagrant breach of international law through intervening by military force in Venezuela. Now, there's no doubt that Maduro was a brutal leader without democratic legitimacy. We in Labour condemn him. But Trump's move was blatantly illegal, and it has had no effect in improving the lives of Venezuelan people as a result. And Trump is not stopping there. We're hearing new threats issued daily from him to Mexico, to Colombia, and unbelievably, he's now even threatening potential military takeover in Europe, with the dire warning that he will take Greenland by force or otherwise. No one can say we were not warned. Last year, he renamed the US Department of Defense the Department of War. He has sanctioned the International Criminal Court, and at home in the US, he's taken extraordinary unilateral actions without recourse to Congress, purely through executive order. When authoritarian rulers tell us what they plan to do, Taoiseach, we must listen and we must act. If Trump is prepared to menace his own NATO ally Denmark over Greenland, then we don't know where his line will be. When we're facing a stark reality now, we can only call it imperialist warmongering by the US. So Ireland and the EU must take an unambiguous stance in defence of the UN Charter, in defence of the principle of national sovereignty. Because these are not abstract ideals, they're foundations of international order. And we as a small country in particular depend on those foundations for our security, our prosperity, our voice in the world. Taoiseach, we must stand up for the people of Greenland just as we stand with the people of Ukraine and of Gaza. And we must protect the soul of this country, because there is a risk of political contagion. We've heard Steve Bannon openly boasting of engineering a so-called Irish National Party, developing an Irish Trump, a really scary prospect. And when people like Bannon, like Trump, tell us what they plan to do, we need to listen and we need to act. We need to assert ourselves, to tell world leaders in an increasingly despotic landscape who we are too, and they need to listen. Taoiseach, this July, Ireland will host the EU presidency. Your government faces a showdown between Boston and Berlin. It's not easy, we know that. But how will you navigate the growing pressure between the EU and the increasingly despotic US?
Thank you, Deputy Batchik. Taoiseach, please.
Thank you for your raising what is a very important issue. And thank you for wishing me a Happy New Year, and I reciprocate and wish you a very Happy New Year also. But could I say the showdown at the moment has been Russia versus Europe. That's the real showdown of substance. I don't like using the word showdown. It's conflict. It's an illegal invasion of Ukraine, which has been going on for 4 years, an appalling attack on the infrastructure of Ukraine, incredible loss of life, deliberately killing innocent civilians, and endeavouring to render Ukraine non-viable into the future in terms of the attack on the energy infrastructure. The losses of life on the battlefield are beyond comprehension, both Russians and Ukrainian men and women at young ages. And it calls for an immediate cessation. That's the real conflict that's going on in Europe right now. And I know you don't mean this, but I'm always struck in this House that we always end up, the US is the big baddie all the time. We spend precious little time on Iran, and have spent precious little time on Iran in this House for quite a number of years. It's always struck me the way Iran has been invisible in any discussions on the Middle East. If you go through all the debates in this House, I think Minister O'Callaghan on a previous occasion did raise it, I think, here on the other business in the last Dáil, and so forth. It's just interesting. And that has been the prism through which many people look at the world. And that's notwithstanding some of the legitimate criticisms you've made which I acknowledge. But I think we do need a sense of perspective here. Iran has been fundamentally a malign influence in the Middle East through Hezbollah, through Hamas, through its behaviour in Syria, and in support of the Assad regime. And we stand with the people of Iran in terms of their right to freedom of assembly, to freedom of speech, freedom to associate, and the need, frankly, for a new form of government in Iran that's democratically based and that facilitates the flourishing of those freedoms. And in terms of Venezuela, Ireland is very committed to the UN Charter, absolutely, and to the international rules-based order. Maduro, again, was a very repressive ruler. Unfortunately, the international rules-based order has not been in a position, and I just say this as a factual observation as opposed to maybe a value judgment, has not been in a position to restrain some of these very authoritarian leaders across the world. There's a problem at the top, really, in terms of the authority and credibility of the international rules-based order. I worry that we're at a similar period to that which predated World War II, when the League of Nations went into its authority was eroded, and we know what happened then.
Deputy
the world got a chance after World War II. We won't get another chance after any confrontation that may arise if geopolitical situation gets worse.